Okay, ladies and gents, and my goodness, it is going from bad to worse with all of the stuff going on. We're going to touch upon some UK stories today and also something with the US as well. It's madness out there at the minute. It's as if who can be the most crazy in positions of power. It really is crazy. So let's get straight into this. I've got to show you this video first. Try not to laugh too hard. I mean, laugh out of sheer, feel. It's just unbelievable. Let me play it.
Went on to say that you did not want your money going to immigrants who, quote, keep our kids and get priority, end quote. This offence is so serious that an immediate custodial sentence is unavoidable. Would you stand, please? The sentence that I pass has been reduced by 1/3 to reflect your guilty plea. The sentence is one of 20 months imprisonment.
20 months in prison for a Facebook post. 20 months in prison. And this isn't the only one. There are loads of these going through the courts now, and they're starting to backdate it. I was looking at my stuff like, right, what have I posted earlier today? Hold on, let me see what I've posted. Not as if you could delete, and well, I wouldn't anyway, but not as if you can delete anything because they have access to everything you've ever posted, whether or not you delete the content. I mean, it is getting scary out there, ladies and gents. This is unbelievable. 20 months in prison. The thing that made me laugh about it, where was it? He said, the offense is so serious that an immediate prison sentence is unavoidable. It's like, really? That was so serious, making a post on social media. Okay, sure. I mean, that's where we've got to now. This was another one that was out a couple of days ago. Labour-run council is now going to fine people. So this is a trial, by the way. £100 for swearing in the street. Yes, if you swear in the street, not that I swear anyway, but, I've got nothing against people that do. But if you swear at all and you do it in public, then you will get a £100 fine for doing this. But they are facing a legal challenge over it. Because they're saying they want to ban behavior that might distress people. It means any one of the 130,000 residents or visitors, if you go to to Kent Coast, you could also be fined for using language or behavior causing or likely to cause harassment, alarm, oh my goodness, or distress to any person. You can imagine that coming out, saying something, you with your mates or whatever. Oh, that was a beeping great meal we just had then. There's someone there with their clipboard. Right, you there. What did you just say? Did you just use the whatever word? Right, £100 on the spot. What for? There's no one here. It's just me and my mates. Well, no, it doesn't matter. £100 fine on the spot. You could have caused distress to someone or harassment if they heard. What, like one of these snowflakes, can you imagine it? Like, would melt if they heard that word. I mean, it's so funny. Gosh, harass, alarm, or distress. My goodness. People could also face punishment if using a public space otherwise in accordance with its intended use. What? Or when directed not to do so by an authorized officer. Who is this authorized officer? Someone tell me. There's also a prohibition on congregating while being abusive, alarming, threatening, insulting, intimidating, harassing, distressing, or otherwise causing a disturbance to other members of the public. Sure, I'm absolutely fine with that. No problem whatsoever. I would expect that anyway in any polite society. If you are being abusive or violent, threatening, yeah, you should be dealt with by officers or the authorities, of course. But some of this stuff is just madness. They're saying that they effectively criminalize free speech by creating a strict liability offense which depends on the judgment of local officials with no legal safeguards. The Free Speech Union, which campaigns against restrictions on individual liberty, has written to the council ahead of launching a potential lawsuit unless it changes course. The Telegraph has previously exposed how local authorities have issued a PSPO to include walking a dog in the wrong place and forcing street performers to be courteous. By the way, if you're watching from outside the UK and you're thinking, does Neil just make these stories up? Is this really? No, this is really going on in the UK. Social media, prison sentences, all this other stuff, it's happening. Now, I thought this was interesting. These PSPOs were first introduced by Parliament in 2014. Now, this is really crucial, so pay attention to this. But their original aim was to help councils manage issues such as prostitution, begging, loitering, or drinking alcohol in specific areas. Yes, that was their original aim. It's like all of these things. They have an original aim, and then they become something different. Officials are empowered to impose a fixed penalty fine of up to £100, or a court can impose a £1,000 fine where a breach is identified. They want to restrict the freedom of expression of 130,000 residents. People within the area covered can now be fined or even face a criminal conviction for causing a disturbance to others. I mean, this is madness. It's just madness. Another thing I thought was very interesting. Normally, when someone commits crimes, they don't actually, do anything like this. They made an entire database. You can click. You can find out all the things, anything. They've made this database now for all the people, like online offenses. 20 months in prison for this guy for his Facebook post. This guy got 3 years and 2 months in prison for his Facebook post. And this one, Dimitri, 3 months in prison for sending a text message, I think they said. It's like, what? It's so this is what they've been charged with. Most of them is violent disorder, but there's a category called other, which is a lot of social media and things like that. Look at this category. It's massive at the bottom here. In other news, this chap who we talked about before has threatened Elon Musk. He wrote him a letter which he actually posted onto X. How narcissistic is that? So he didn't even send the letter to Elon Musk. He posted it on X and tagged Elon Musk so everyone could read it. But you should see the comments. Who are you, an escapee from the fallen Soviet Union? It's like, actually, I won't click on all of them. There's a lot of swearing. Hold on, I might get arrested for all the swearing. Oh my goodness. But I was looking at this and I just thought, does this guy look right to you? Have a look. Does that guy look right to you anyway? He's in charge of taking the European Union forward. How on earth has he got 150,000 followers? That is scary to me. That is really scary. Continents that have AI regulation, the EU, others, fact-checked. The EU is not a continent. It is bizarre what's going on. So he's in charge of this European Commission Digital Services Act. By the way, Elon Musk responded with, I can't even repeat what he responded to this guy with. But you can look it up. But he told him to go himself, which is now going to, whenever you get someone who's quite narcissistic, if you say something like that on X in public, that is not going to go down well. So I'm expecting some bad days ahead for Elon Musk. But I was reading again about the European Commission's Digital Services Act. And you look at what is really what they're saying, and it's not really a Digital Services Act. It's more of a restriction of free speech act. It's more of a censorship act. If you actually read through properly what they're doing here. But that's not all. If you are in America, the UK Police Commissioner is now threatening to extradite and jail US citizens over online posts. He said, "We're coming after you." And I know it's laughable, really. But he said that if it's only if you post about the UK. So if you, he says, hold on, let me just read it out. He warned that officials will not only be cracking down, yeah, that's exactly what they did. They literally cracked down on British citizens for commentary on the riots, but on American citizens as well now. We will throw the full force of the law at people, and whether you're in this country committing crimes on the streets or committing crimes from further afield online, I mean, how I'm not sure. We will come after you, the commissioner has said. One key aspect that makes this apparent crackdown on social media particularly shocking to critics is that the British government is threatening to extradite American citizens from the US to be jailed in the UK for violating their rules about political speech online. And I've got to play you this clip as well. UK government scouring social media to arrest people for sharing harmful riot footage regardless of intent. That's the key. Listen to this.
People might be sharing simply to warn their friends, but it could be considered an offence because they're amplifying this.
Yeah, so this is one thing that people might do. They might say, hey, look at this, or I'm a commentator. Hey, look what happened. And now listen to the response.
Absolutely, and that's the key message, is that however you think you're acting innocently on social media, whatever platform it is, you're just sharing something for whatever reason, that could potentially be a criminal offence. And look, it's not an idle threat either, because the Crown Prosecution Service were keen to point out that they've made a number of charges in relation to stirring up of racial hatred online, one of which this morning was for distributing a recording that could, intending to stir up racial hatred. And so they are actually already bringing charges in relation to this sort of thing. So it's a very, very clear message based in the harsh reality, if you like, that if you do this kind of thing, you are potentially committing a criminal offence.
And they are arresting people. Drop in the comments, what do you think of all that? I think it's pretty crazy, all of this. I got to tell you, I think the whole thing is, whoa, what's going on with my hair at the back today? Hold on, let me sort this out. There we go. I think the whole thing is just wild, all this stuff with the police commissioners. You got all these people getting involved. The judge, he was a really strange judge, I'm sure you'll agree. This is such a serious crime. This Facebook post, even though you've only got 7 followers, such a serious crime that I have to sentence you immediately. 20 months in prison. Wow. I mean, obviously, it's obvious what's really going on. They're trying to set a precedent, crack down on free speech and everything else. It's pretty scary. We've got one more thing to cover, though. One more thing to cover. How spiraling worklessness among British-born adults is fueling a migration crisis. This has just come out today. So this is inactivity of what they call British-born citizens. So it's skyrocketing. It's up to 9.5 million people. So British-born adults. But they say more than 1 million foreign workers have come to Britain since the eve of the COVID crisis, excuse me, fueling concerns about migration, adding to stress on public services and leaving the UK at risk of a labour market crisis if it suddenly becomes a less attractive place for immigrants. Okay, now here's where we just want to look at data. We don't really care about the emotions and someone thinks this, someone thinks that. Let's look at the data and the numbers. UK-born people account for 833,000 of the increase, with 230,000 people born in other countries. Key. That is to say, the overwhelming rise in worklessness has been driven by those in the UK. So here we go. Here's the stats. And then here's the one for people born elsewhere. So we've got one going down and one going up. The biggest driver of the increase in inactivity since 2019 is long-term sickness. People are now too ill to work. Now, why do you think that is? What do you think has caused people to become too ill to work, British people, in the last few years? I mean, it's like that. It's like a rocket. Something has obviously caused this, and now the worklessness is sort of, it's increasing, so less people are working, and now we have more people coming in and going into those job positions. This is what of course, the article is pulling together. This is all the details. I'd love to hear your thoughts on everything we talked about today. And The course sale on the wealth psychology, money psychology, and the macro stock market ends on Sunday, by the way. So if you haven't grabbed it yet, by the way, if you've been having trouble at the checkout, on the information page at the bottom, there's loads of tips. It's like it shows you you might be using a VPN, you might be it might be your bank blocking it, it might be, have a look through, you'll see all the stuff, or you can just email through and we'll sort you out. But that is it for today. Thanks for being online. Take care. God bless. And I'll see you tomorrow.